Let me start by telling who I am. My name is Marianne van Keep, and I'm Chief Sustainability Officer at Verstegen Spices Sauces. And let me take you into the program of today. We have an hour, and in this hour, you will hear a little bit from my side about Verstegen and about what we are doing in terms of sustainability. And then I'll pass it on to Sander, the Managing Director of Fairfood. He will tell you all about the cooperation between Fairfood and Verstegen, of which we are really, really proud, of course. And then Gilmee Davids, the colleague from Verstegen, who knows everything, and I can say everything about regenerative agriculture. And last but certainly not least, Yayang will tell us all about the program and how we're going to implement it. So that's what we're going to do. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. You can put them in the chat box. I'm the only one who will see them. So you can ask any question you want. Don't hesitate. And I will see either I'll tell it directly to the person speaking so that we give an answer directly, or we have some minutes left at the end where all the questions can be answered. So many people have joined us now and even are joining us still. So we're slowly going to start with the aGROWforests. But first, let me tell you about Verstegen. Verstegen, we are a family business for those of you who don't know us very well. We exist since 1886. We are a really Dutch company located in Rotterdam. Fourth generation, Michel, and Michel is really, really convinced that he and we are responsible for the future, for the next generations. That is for his daughters, for my children, for my grandchildren, but also for your grandchildren and all the children and grandchildren of all the farmers and everybody involved in the supply chains. And that's why we are really keen on sustainability. And for us, sustainability is really taking responsibility, and it's about everything. It's about climate, it's about living wage and living income. And we're really happy that it all come together in this program, in the program aGROWforest. So that's a little bit about Verstegen, but I can't tell you much more. For the Dutch people, I always say, if you don't know us, look in your kitchen board cabinet, because really we are there. And even if we are not, we probably are, because we do a lot of ingredients for the industry, and we also do some private label. But here you can see some of the products that we are selling in the retail, but also in the food service and in the industry. Then I told you about how we feel responsible for future generations. We have translated this responsibility to 33 sustainable goals. And those goals, like I said, it's about climate. We aim to be net zero. We are working on the SBTI. It's also about our own people, our own colleagues. Is everybody happy? Is everybody feeling safe? Is everybody feeling fit? All those goals are approached within Verstegen, and I'm really proud on the things that we have been doing. So I'm going to pass the word to Sander, who is director of Fairfood, and he's going to tell you about a great cooperation between Fairfood, Verstegen, but also about all the sustainable goals of Fairfood. Up to you.
Thank you, Marianne, and thank you for the introduction, and thanks for having me in this webinar. As Marianne said, we're Fairfood. For the last, I believe, 7 years, we've been working closely together with Marianne, Michel, and the rest of the Verstegen team. It's the mission of our NGO to accelerate the change towards a sustainable food system. And we develop innovative solutions for companies such as Verstegen, but also for the organizations downwards in the supply chain, including farmer organizations, to basically improve practices, farming practices, business practices. We always work towards developing open solutions so everybody is able to access them and use them. We work in over 15 countries at the moment, really creating these transparent supply chains, right? So, and why is transparency so important? Because once your supply chain is transparent, you know where your farmers live, under what conditions they work in, and how you can really reach them to improving their livelihoods. So over more than 500 million farmers around the world play a major role in our global food system. Unfortunately, the vast majority of these farmers live in poverty and have to earn less than $2 a day. They are the people that produce our coffee, our chocolate, and also the spices we consume on a daily basis. As long as these small-scale farmers remain dependent on low prices, they remain stuck in a vicious cycle of poverty. And this poverty is often the cause of many other problems we are facing as well, such as deforestation, pollution, child labor, and unsafe working conditions. Also, farmers in low and middle income countries are experiencing consequences of the climate crisis firsthand, for longer periods of drought, more extreme weather conditions, and food shortages. At the same time, they do not have the resources to adapt to this. But farmers are resilient. Also the farmers Verstegen is working with. So they work very hard to fighting this climate change. But what they do need is to receive the right resources to protect them against these challenges. So one of the problems we are Verstegen, but many other companies we are supporting, one of the problems they face is that it's difficult for these companies to really reach their farmers. In many cases, the supply chains are long and opaque. So there's, on the one hand, there's a lack of inclusion on the end of the farmers. On the other hand, there's a lack of trust at the end of consumers, because they don't really trust what brands are telling them. And all this comes down to the lack of proper data. And data is key, and also in this program. So for the last years, we've been working together with Verstegen to connect them to the farmers they rely on, and also really work with these farmers. So we develop interventions such as these agroforestry practices. We collect the data, we make it traceable and connect it to the products in order for Verstegen to really monitor the performance, the performances of the farmers in the field, and share these results with their clients, with consumers, with regulators, whoever they need. Here you see an overview of our practices around the world. So we are combining both really working towards a fairer price for farmers, higher incomes, fair value distribution, but also fighting the deforestation, making fair loans available to coffee farmers, paying out data premiums to nutmeg farmers in the Verstegen supply chains, and of course the agroforestry practices we are now talking about in this program. So We're really proud of this agroforest program. It is one of the signature programs we're working on. And a recent study showed that more regenerative farming practices can halve the food system's GHG emissions by 2030. That's immense. It can also reduce the negative impacts of farming on plants, wildlife, and freshwater, and make farmers more climate resilient. In this agroforest program, we train and support farmers to implement these sustainable farming practices. And we digitally connect them with Verstegen's customers. We anticipate a yield of over 20%, and also a serious income increase. So this is now my time to hand it over to the next speaker. Gilmee, up to you.
First, we have the video.
Of course, yeah, sorry.
Climate change is affecting all farmers worldwide. And next to that, farmers are getting a really low price often for their products.
In the past, their ancestors planting several crops and several plants together at the same plot. But now, they are more into monoculture because of the low price of the pepper.
Beda, mendulu kan ada nentuwe. Musim ni hujan, ini kira musim panas kira kena hujan.
Gara-gara cuaca ekstrim kemarin itu kemarau panjang, ada yang mati sih.
Kan waktu kat nempuh sari ke sahang ni kan mungkin lagi iar-iar. Benyanu jangkar sahang kan agak anak buruk. Jadi sahang udahlah kuning. Benua hujan, benua panas deh, tapi kurang subur kan.
The goal of the agroforest project is to support farmers implementing more sustainable farming practices. This will lead to a higher yield, a better income, better quality pepper, and also will make them more resilient against climate change.
This project is using the farmer feels good approach, so they can get more understanding about the concept and also the practices and build their confidence to slowly adopt the principles and also the practices with their own awareness.
Belajar tentang nak nganu ngurusan supaya jangan kuning lah. Naik ubat sang. Nengung kemarin kan, jam dinamang kemarin kan bagus sahang. Poi ke anakku kan bagus sahang kata gua.
Verstegen is committed to source 100% of spice products from regenerative agriculture and agroforestry trained farmers by 2035.
In the future, Verstegen and Fairfood want to keep working together and scale up this approach to all supply chains, so all the supply chains of Verstegen become transparent, fair, and sustainable.
Untuk harapan ke depan kita saling berkomunikasi, untuk saling memberi ilmu supaya perkembangan dari lada ini terus berkualitas.
So that was a great video, and we're really proud of it. It really makes, I don't know how about you, but really it makes me feel good. I'm going to pass it on to Yayang. You saw her already on the video, and she knows a lot about what's going on in Indonesia in this program. Yayang, it's up to you.
It's my time first, I think.
So exactly. I was a little bit too quick. It's first to Gilmee.
Super. Every time I see these images, I long to go back to the fields because I've been there many times, working together with pepper farmers, but also with Yayang, our colleague in Indonesia, who will talk shortly after me. But my name is Gilmee Davids. I'm an agroforestry developer for Verstegen. Been with the company now for 6 years, and I'm responsible for some of our climate and regenerative agricultural ambitions. And next to that, I've started and run a couple of our agroforestry projects. We do many different projects at Verstegen, but white pepper being one of our biggest spices, white pepper is of course also a priority. And we started learning about agroforestry together in Bangka, Indonesia, about 5 years ago. But to have a quick refresher, I always like it to reintroduce, okay, what is agroforestry? So for me, it's the deliberate combination of agriculture and forestry, and depending where you are in the world, and depending on your context and what you're growing, what your climate is, what your market connections are, and what the risks that you want to reduce are, this could look completely different. And here you see different combinations all over the world. But to simplify, for me, it's farming with trees. And we wanted to test that concept in our supply chains. And this is actually a picture of one of the model farms that we have in Bangka, which also is a plot or is a opportunity for farmers to learn. We thought 5 years ago, okay, we have all these interesting literature out there, but let's try it ourselves first so that we understand, we learn, we see what mistakes we make so that we don't scale up these mistakes and put farmers at risk. So we started ourselves first. And let me give you a little bit of a timeline through every month or so we made a picture. Here you see after some management, you see the field change, and as it changes, we learn and we see how we can do things better, etc. And eventually, this design that we made, white pepper is basically the economic center at this design. But there's a lot of flexibility in this design for farmers to diversify depending on their needs, depending on their knowledge on which crops they can produce well, or what type of dietary preferences they have. So we help them with what is the right spacing, where to get good quality seeds, etc. And why we are interested here is, or what we are focusing on, is to really improve soil conditions and functionality. And through that better soil conditions, we expect better plant health. And with better plant health, we see better productivity and quality of the products. Also, healthy plants are more resilient against diseases and pests. And with a diverse cropping model, we also see potential to spread business risks, especially with climate change. Not all crops that farmers grow are intended for the export or local market. They can also choose species that benefit their own diet. And what we also see, it's a bit of an open door, but if you plant different species, you also increase biodiversity, which is also one of the ambitions of Verstegen in our supply chains. With better soil conditions and more diverse plant species, we also see a little bit more resilience against climate extremes. And lastly, which is very important for us as well, is the more carbon you sequester in soils, the more plants you have per square meters, the more chlorophyll you have, and the more carbon you can capture for the long term. And before I give the word to Yayang, who gives a bit of an overview of what is actually happening on the ground and how we are trying to scale this up, I asked for a most recent picture, and this is the field now, last month. So we're getting more and more data, and the floor now to my colleague Yayang, Vionita. Please take it forward. What are we doing?
Yeah, thank you, Gilmee, for explaining about the regenerative agroforestry and what we have been doing so far. Let me introduce myself. My name is Yayang Vionita. I'm a supply chain agronomist of Verstegen Spices and Sauces. I've been working together with pepper farmers, specifically in Bangka, in the past 5 years. Also together with Gilmee, developed the demo plot. So we have been learning a lot on what works and what doesn't. Today I will bring you into more local context of what is happening now, what is the background of our current project. So if you look at the screen, here we have some data about the situation on pepper production in Indonesia. It is known that in the past 5 years, the pepper plantation area and production in Indonesia has been declining. Most of the time, it's due to the low pepper price, climate change, and pest and disease. And then because of that, farmers are losing their interest and motivations to take care of the plantations, and also they also don't really know how to take care of the infected plants. That's why it's getting less and less plantation of pepper and production in Indonesia, specifically in Bangka. Therefore, we thought that an active participatory training and also a transparent supply chain who can give like a fair price to farmers can be a crucial approach to tackle those challenges, and hopefully can improve the pepper farming and also pepper business in Indonesia, specifically in Bangka and also in Lampung. So now, what are we going to do in this project? What will be the implementation? So in this project, we aim to train 2,300 pepper farmers. And then for doing that, on the ground, we have 11 change makers in Bangka Belitung province, and we have 6 field officers in Greater Lampung area. Our intervention area are in Bangka Belitung province for white pepper, and then Greater Lampung area for black pepper.
And for those of you who don't know Indonesia, Lampung is on Sumatra.
Yeah, thank you, Mariana, to add to that. Yeah. So both of them are on Sumatra Island, but Bangka Belitung is a small island next to Sumatra. And yeah, as you have seen in the video, and also Gilmee has been explaining a lot, we also have one demo plot in Bangka Belitung province. We use this demo plot as a showcase to farmers on how we implement the regenerative agroforestry and also CSA practices to test out what works and what doesn't before we go to farmers and recommend them something. In this project, we do it a bit differently from our previous programs with farmers. We use Farmer Field School now, where we put farmers as the main center. They are the pepper expert. They are the one who have to do the active learning, to do the observations, to do the discussion among farmers, and to find solutions by observing around, and then to learn something from what they have been doing so far, and then try something new, which is regenerative agroforestry. We also have change makers and field officers who help us to facilitate the training activity. So they are more into supporting role, where they helping farmers to conduct the trainings, preparing the tools, setting up the training. But during the training activity, farmers are the one who are really active. So it's not like change makers and field officer who deliver the knowledge or speak in front of the farmers, but it's more farmers who do the active roles, and then they share and present among fellow farmers. By doing so, we hope that farmers can have more engagement towards the training program, and also understand better because they practice themselves in the field. So later on, if they go to their place, to their farm, they know what to do and they can practice it themselves. We'll also have support from specialists as a collaborator and also advisor who can give us like a specific recommendations or advice on specific topic depending on what we need in this program. It can be a soil specialist or climate change specialist, etc. And then the last but not the least, and also the important things of this project, is to have a demo farm as a learning and information center. So in this demo farm, we invite farmers to have training session, workshops, observation, and also discussion right in the demo farm, so they can look at how it is set up, how it is implemented, and then see what works and what doesn't. Because throughout 5 years, we found out that not all the things on the paper works best in the field. So we explain to farmers, this is what we have tried, and this is what works, this is what doesn't. And they can get inspirations and also insight from this demo farm, and later on implement it on their own farm. So they can think about it like, okay, in the demo farm, we see that using life support and then do the mulching and not using herbicides seems to work out, and then make the pepper plants there more resilient toward pest and disease. Later on, they will also do the same thing in their own farm slowly. That's the important role of demo farm that we have.
Yayang, just out of curiosity, you have a really, really happy bird in your neighborhood.
Yes.
I guess everybody hears it, and it makes me really happy. Is it a happy that you have in your house, or is it a bird outside?
It's outside, because I live in the village, small village. Yeah, I have like a garden at the backyard. So sorry for the noises.
No, sorry. It makes me really happy. So, and I guess everybody is well, a happy bird like that in your neighborhood must be really making everybody smile. Thank you very much. Please go on.
Thank you, Mariana. Yeah, and then if you look closer to the role of change maker and field officers, here they are working closely with farmers to guide and facilitate farmers if they have questions, and also to set up the farmer feels good session, because most of the time we have to gather farmers and then to make them sit in one session together and learn together. Our change makers and field officers also provide technical assistance to farmers. For example, if farmers adopt the practices in their own farm, they can ask our change makers and field officers to look at, hey, it is already correct on how we do the composting, or on how we treat the pest and disease, something like that. And these change makers and field officers also closely monitor and evaluate the performance of the implementation that's happening in the farmer's farm. So there's like a scheduled monitoring and evaluation sessions where the change makers and field officers go to the farm and then check with farmers. And farmers could also ask questions if they have challenges or doubts about the practices. Therefore, these change makers and field officers become a really important central point of contact for farmers. So if farmers have questions, whenever they find something in the field or in the neighborhood, they can ask change makers and field officers. And then if change makers and field officers don't have the answer, they will communicate with the experts to provide good recommendations and advice for farmers. Change makers and field officers also help us to collaborate with related stakeholders like local government agencies, and then with the research institutes, NGOs, and also other stakeholders in the area. Yep.
So thank you very much, Yayang. This is really, we all feel a little bit like we are in Indonesia. The sun is shining here and these nice birds on the background. Send it to us, please, that bird.
I hope I can send it, but I think it will be a lot of steps.
Yeah.
In the quarantine department.
Well, we'll keep it to you then. We have a lot of questions, so let's go through the questions that we have. First of all, I don't know if I pronounce it right, but Davron John asks, are also mango, cashew nuts, and pepper in kabocha possible in this kind of schemes. I don't know who I can ask this question to. Gilmee, Sander, one of you?
Yeah, sure. I think there's a lot of possibilities, but it's also very important to first do a context scan if it is the right choice to make. Diversity has many opportunities, but also risks if you don't know how to manage diversity. So I'm not an expert. I don't know the context in Cambodia, but I'm happy to connect with you personally if you have things you want to share on this.
Thank you very much. I hope that answers your question for now, at least. Then this is question, how are we going to communicate this to the consumers, to the retailers? Is that a question to Sander?
Yeah, I can take it. So we will basically use the same method and technologies and ways of communication as we did before, as we're doing in the other nutmeg supply chain with Verstegen. So it's important for Verstegen, but also for the consumer to really understand. So what is this sustainability really about, right? So a lot of words, but what is now really, what can I see and how can I, as a consumer, really see the impacts? So this is a key component in the work we do. So very practically, there's a QR code. There's a QR code on the package of the products of Verstegen. Once you scan the QR code, you can see the full traceability, the full story of the pepper. Where it comes from, what farmers have been working on the pepper, but also the story about this agroforestry program. So really bring the full breadth of it all and communicating it very in a very nice way to consumers for them to really verify what is happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, communicating to the retailers, to the consumers is not the easiest part. We all know, but the more stories that we have to tell, the better way we can approach the consumers. So that's one of the things I'll guess that the consumer will hear more and more about us and about the sustainable products in the coming years, of which we are really proud, of course. Then there's another question. How does the farmer become more climate resilient by using agroforestry? And Gilmee, I guess that's really a question on your expertise.
Yeah. So what I think we see in Indonesia, but in many different places where we source our products, is that we see changing weather patterns. So we see more severe rains in shorter periods of time. And then we see longer periods of drought. So what we do in this project is look at, okay, what are climate smart practices that we can include to manage those extremes. And there are many examples, but let me give one that we focus on in this project as well, is using cover crops. By using cover crops, we cover the bare ground, so that if water falls, it has a longer period of time to infiltrate, because it doesn't just run off the fields. And next to that, it increases, let's say, the permeability of the soil. So it can infiltrate and it can be absorbed there. So when it falls, there is more time and more capacity to hold that rainwater. And then when prolonged periods of drought are there, then also that water can be received back from that from the soil. So we see a big difference in also erosion, but also, let's say, the action or the function of production in those fields. So that's one example.
Thank you, Gilmee. A lot of questions are coming in, so I'm really happy with that. Martin, he asks, you're talking about a fair price. How is it being defined, a fair price, in this program? I don't know who says that's really a question for me. I guess Sander. You know, you can tell us a little bit about fair pricing, which is a challenge as well, isn't it? You're muted, Sander.
Thanks.
There you are
Can
again.
you hear me?
Yes, perfect, loud and clear.
All right. So the price is a key component in this program, and as it is in all the programs Fairfood is working in. It's not only about the price, obviously. It's also about the income. So making sure that so in this program we're looking to increase the farmer productivity as one of the components, but also decrease the farmer input costs. With these, by implementing these regenerative practices, the input costs can also decrease. So those are two very important components. Then we also foresee that there, by sequestering carbon, we anticipate on an additional income for these farmers by connecting them to the carbon markets. And last but not least, we also see that there's potential for paying higher prices to these farmers once they can secure better quality pepper. With these programs, they receive higher prices because Verstegen pays higher prices to higher quality pepper. And on top of that, what's also where we're experimenting with quite successfully together with Verstegen is paying the farmer for all this information they submit to Verstegen and Verstegen customers. So this so-called data premium, where farmers do not only provide the pepper in this case, but they also provide all the data that Verstegen needs for compliance purposes or for their sustainability purposes or for their clients. And that has value as well. So there's also an extra income component there. So it's a combination. And eventually we are working towards really closing the living income gap so farmers can earn a decent living out of this pepper product, beautiful product called pepper. Maybe you have anything to add there, Marianne or Yayang?
Yeah, if I may add, more in the technical part of how we can implement the fair price to farmers is because in this project, we focused on the farmers who are within our supply chains. And then for the trading part, we use the Trace app developed by Fairfood, where farmers can see the transactions, see the price that is now on the market. Because what happenings normally in the field is that farmers don't really know the exact price now, or sometimes the collector just named the price and they cannot really negotiate for that. But in this project, we will make it more transparent, where farmers will know what will be the best price and then what will be the added price, like mentioned by Sander, in terms of quality, in terms of data sharing, and also their participation on the training. So farmers know exactly, how much the base price is paid by our local supplier, and then what are the added price that they get from their participatory in the training, in the program, and also in the quality of the pepper itself that is resulted from the good pepper farming practice. So now farmers can see it on the app, or they use card. Basically, for farmers, they use card, but the collectors will use the app, so farmers can see. And then if they agree with the price offered by the collectors, and then the transaction can be made. So it's fair on the both sides.
Thank you, Yayang. Yeah, living wage, living income is really a big element in all our programs. And Mariana, she asked, can you tell a little bit about next steps and how are you going to duplicate this kind of programs and theories and practical experience to other supply chains? And that's a really good question. Thank you very much for that, Mariana. Yes, indeed, that's what the plan is. If you look at our sustainable goals, I told you about it in one of the first slides. A couple of those goals are indeed about that regenerative agriculture, living wage, living income. In 2035, the idea is that all our herbs and spices are fully regenerative, fully everybody gets a fair wage, so that we really cover too. And 2035 is far away, but then on the other hand, it will be really, really fast, 2035. So we have a lot of work to do there, and we are really happy with the cooperation with Fairfood in reaching out to all those goals. And one of the things also, because also to you, if you have ideas about how can you use this in other supply chains, how can we find each other in product country combinations, in how can we do this in business cases, please approach us, one of us, doesn't matter, you can find us, you find our email addresses here on this slide, you can find us on LinkedIn or whatever. Please reach out to us, and we really be happy to help you. I see one more question coming in. Timon, he asks, are the farmers getting 100% of the CO2 compensation? That how is that working? I'm going to pass this question to Gilmee, because it's something that we're still working on. We don't know exactly how we can do that, but it is a goal.
Yes, for sure. But first, to add a little bit to the previous question, next to this project that we focus in the supply chain of white and black pepper, we have currently many other projects around the globe that strive for similar outcomes and introduce similar practices. So that's in Guatemala, that's in Indonesia, that's in India, that's in the Netherlands as well. Things are coming up, and also in Costa Rica. So there's many different current projects, and we're also we have a strategy on how to get to those percentages. I think our strategy or our goal for 2030 is 50% of our volumes should come from regenerative agriculture. So we just look at the whole portfolio and we prioritize according to volume, according to price, according to supply chain risks. Supply chains that have higher risks should get a more priority. And that is how we select basically for the coming 6 years, X amount of supply chains that we're going to start either our own projects together with, for example, Fairfood, or we look for better suppliers that can basically substitute, or we can slowly transition from one supplier to another supplier that follows our practices better. Then to go to the carbon sequestration question, what we see is that it's not really, we're really looking for a cost-effective way to measure carbon on small scale. We work with about 2,000 individual farmers in Banca alone, I think. I'm not sure, but a lot of pepper farmers, and they all have 1 hectare. So it's very costly at the technology that we now have to do that. So we have another ambition there to really look for, okay, what are the possibilities to do this on a small scale, to pay farmers for ecosystem services, not only carbon, but maybe also biodiversity, other things. And maybe we can also join the group there with Fairfood, but eventually it's our ambition to, through insetting in our own supply chains, invest in these farmers and let them reap the benefits of the carbon markets as well.
Yeah, and to add on that, I think the ambition is to obviously add these farmers to international carbon markets, carbon banks. So that's the ambition. It's also part of this program to do research on the potential of carbon sequestration and adding them to the carbon markets. There will be a pilot, but within the context of this program, it won't be at scale full 100% carbon sequestration and measurements and transition and translating them to carbon credits and etc. This is the goal, but not within the context of this program, but obviously beyond for sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you to the audience for listening to us and sharing and joining us in this really great program. This was the first one. I'm pretty sure that we're going to repeat it because we learned a lot today, and we're going to repeat it somewhere in the coming months, the coming period, when we have other things to tell you, other things to share to you, and we really enjoy that. So don't hesitate. If you have some thing that you want to ask, don't hesitate. If you have ideas about how we can work together on all those climates and other ambitions that we have, please contact us. Well, I really want to thank Sander, Gilmee, Yayang for telling your story to us, and thank you very much, everybody, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.